What's up, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of DGU podcast. I'm super happy for today's episode because, well, it's definitely a different episode. It's with my dear friend Jason. He is a spiritual, I would say, kind of like a spiritual guidance and enlightener and all this stuff. And he and his wife host sound baths at Sage Sanctuary. So if you guys want to check it out, the link will be down in the description below. Go ahead and contact them, and be sure to give them a follow. But without further ado, let's get right into the episode. See how this goes. Hopefully it because the last episode that we filmed, my God, man, it was like my what you call the volume was just like boom in your face, and you couldn't understand what I was saying or anything, and it just really sucked. So I was like, okay, I guess.
Is it an indication of how I'm hearing you, how it will be heard on a podcast?
So I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know, because it happened within the first, I think, like minute or two of recording, and I had my microphone setting on the actual microphone turned up all the way, and then it just automatically did its thing, and I'm like, oh shit. So I'm standing a little bit further back today from the microphone, so it doesn't happen again like that, because we're like, I strive for quality episodes. I want to make sure that any listeners, viewers, doesn't matter, like just the audience in general, that they're able to understand what's being said, because it's quality. So that's kind of like how that whole thing goes. Yeah. So yeah,
I'm all about the quality, brother.
Yeah, so it's kind of just what it is. Let's see here. Hopefully, let's see. I'm trying to.
Yeah, take your time, man.
Let's see if I can. Yeah, so I was trying to get to where like we can both be up on here. I think that works. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Cool.
All right. So yeah. So yeah, you were saying before I rudely interrupted you earlier about your sleep.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm sorry that, Adrian won't be able to make it today, it's a bummer, because I love having him on. He just always he comes in with shutting me up sometimes. I just keep blabbing away, and then he'll just be like, Damien,
break it
stop
down.
Talking.
Do you want me to like take on his role, or what do you want me to do?
No, you're all good. I'll try to. I think he'll be proud of me today that I keep myself in check over here. So
you and me both, bro. We have a lot on our mind. We have a lot that we want to say, right? And it's
dude. Yeah, man. And that's the whole thing. Like I told you last night, it's just, our platform. It's definitely one of the things that, it's a free flow conversation. There's nothing that's specific. There's nothing that's set. It's just however the conversation flows, how it goes. That's how we do it. So, so how much time do you have today, by the way?
You tell me, like hour plus.
I don't know. It really depends on you, because you're the one that has stuff to do today.
Nah, I'm flexible, man.
Okay. Well,
starting early in the morning gives me a lot of flexibility too.
Yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and see how this whole thing plays out then.
Right on.
Yeah. So yeah, you were saying about your sleep. What's been going on with it?
So again, well, my name is Jason, first of all. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. Just to throw it out there so everybody knows who this dude is that's squawking up here.
I'll be doing a good introduction for you before the episode begins in post edits. So
right on. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So sleep, I sometimes, again, with the busyness, with the so much going on and the feeling of having to say a lot, that often occupies the mind. So I often wake up at night, with many thoughts on my mind of what I have going on. And that's part of the work too, that I'm trying to do is quiet the mind a little bit, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I woke up, so we were at a sound bath last night, you and I, and a lot of the time there's reorganization that's going on there. So often I'll get better sleep on those nights, or just a different type of sleep. But for whatever reason, I woke up, I don't know, around 4 a.m, I think it was, and I'll pop up and I'll meditate just to center myself, to get connected, all the things, and we can get into that a little bit more. But the full moon is going on right now, and we were talking about the access to the divine and our ancestors and whatnot. And so I was jumping out there meditating, and I've never felt so connected to my grandmother. And we were having the conversation with a couple folks over there, talking about, hey, connections with this person. I'm like, yeah, I don't really have those connections all the time. Or somebody was talking about colors or seeing this, and it's all an individual experience. But I was extremely happy to feel that. I just felt an overwhelming sense of emotion. I felt my hand move a little bit, where I was pretty much in stillness. So I felt like almost pulled to move a little bit, and just overwhelmed with emotion. And I was actually sitting there and just saying, hey, if there is access to, X, Y, and Z, grandma, like, I would love to be able to hang out with you and feel your vibration, because I miss you. And yeah, it was neat, man. It was really neat. The sensations I was getting through my body, the emotions that I was feeling, just connected, man. It's really hard to describe. We often, like me and you've tried to describe these things, and we get kind of tongue-tied a little bit too. But I felt really connected, and that's what I was touching on earlier.
Yeah, man. So, like, I know for me, I don't like. Okay, so there's a lot of people in general at these sound baths and for all of those of you that don't know what a sound bath is, you have these crystal bowls with a wooden dowel, or sometimes there's a cloth around the dowel to create a softer sound, I believe. And it allows for you to feel the sound vibrations. And I love having Jason on with us today, because he's part of this spiritual, I would say, like a spiritual guide community that really enlightens people that have no idea that, like, he deals with a crazy amount of first timers. So the fact that, that we have him on today as a guest is a big deal, because I've spoke about this topic on past episodes, Jason, and it's just one of those things that it's like, it's easy to describe, it's harder to comprehend, because people, that are just like super surface level, they don't really go deep that much. They're not really in tune with themselves in that universal way. Hell, like for me, dude, like so back whenever I want to say I was 20 or 21. It was one of those two, 20 or 21. And I said this on a way far out episode, but that was the first time I was introduced to this universal grounding method by a buddy of mine, Scott Carlson. And we went over to Crestone, Colorado for it, because he had a house over there. And that's whenever I first got introduced to being able to universally ground yourself, because there's nothing out there. At the time, there was nothing out there, no signal, like literally you're completely disconnected from your phone.
Is this Sedona, maybe?
No, this is Crestone, Colorado.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said that too.
It's okay.
You got it.
Yeah,
where is that? I've never even heard of Crestone.
Yeah, so Crestone, Colorado, it's much like it's not okay. I would say that it's much like Sedona, but it's not in the saying or in the feels of like how Sedona is very kind of spiritual, commercialized. Crestone is underdeveloped. It's a very small, little, tiny community that is along a mountainside, literally. So you have to drive probably, I want to say like 7 miles away from the road towards the mountain. And the mountain has this Japanese, oh my gosh, what is it? Japanese temple. It's got a stupa there. It's all dirt roads.
Wow.
It's like completely just, like a lot of people go to Crestone, Colorado because they need to get away. They want to restart in life. They like that. These are like very serious people that maybe have some drug problems, and they need to find a different way to channel certain things in life. And so, but it's not to get mistaken with, there's a whole bunch of people that are like trying to come down from drugs out there. No, that's not what
Right.
it is. There's a lot of people there that have a lot of money. They have their real estate out there, and it's a place for them to disconnect, like basically from coming from like LA, from Washington, from blah blah blah, all these big city hubs, and to just be at their house completely disconnected from the world. And they can literally like, you can see the stars brighter than anywhere because there's no light pollution at all. Like, that's the only place other than Utah and somewhat of Colorado, or yeah, some places of Colorado, that I've been able to see just about every star in the sky.
Yeah.
And it was the craziest thing I've ever seen so far, because it was so dark. The sky was so bright, as in starlit sky.
Yeah.
It was just so gnarly. But that's where,
apologize too, because as you're talking about that, I'm going left and going off of stories that both you and Chris have told me about Sedona. So as the words were coming out of your mouth, Colorado, don't think I wasn't paying attention. I'm like totally going back to stories that you guys both told me about that. I'm like, because you told me about I think it was a sound bath or a meditation that you went through, or a shamanic experience, or a combination of all three. Yeah. And my head just went directly to that story. So I apologize. Yeah. That's neat, man. Just that connection.
Yeah. And that's the first time I was introduced to that world. And at first, I was young, so I didn't have that experience. I like most people, I had that experience of, I think it's bullshit. And then whenever I got older, like every year I went back every year, because my buddy, he was all into it, and he's the one that got me into it in the first place. He's also my co-screenwriter. So it was like this whole thing that he wanted to kind of introduce me to something new. And I'm super grateful for him that he did that. Because, just like, I would compare this to like, much like how people most of the time in this lifetime are not able to find their person, if you will.
Yeah.
Most people don't know really
like
what it's
partner.
like. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that, there's a lot of people that don't get to experience what it really feels like to ground yourself to the universe. Like, just ground yourself. Like, take all the other shit that's in your life, in your mind and everything, and just be one with the ground. Like, just ground yourself. And I think one of those best things for me, at least, was whenever two ways that it happened with me. Number one happened at a hot spring in like literally a few miles away from Crestone, literally. And then two happened in a sound bath. And then the third, actually, that what happened was, this entire time, mind you, no cell reception. None.
Right.
I think this was whenever I was 22. I was out there. And no cell reception at all. All of a sudden, my phone rings. And at this time, I was doing some modeling stuff in the background. I got a call from my agent at the time and said, "Hey, we got you modeling some clothes on the morning, or Good Morning America or some shit." And it was in Dallas. It was like based in Dallas, but it was like a little segment for Dallas. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then after that, I had no cell reception at all. And I'm like, my mind was blown. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like that was crazy. So, yeah.
And didn't we say something about the web last night? We were talking about, I think Monique threw out the web or something, but just the interconnectedness of everything. We could start it off so small, and from even plants, and then you go into humans, then you go to our planet, then you go to the universe, and you can just extend it out as far as you want,
yeah.
right? And so this web, like, of interconnectedness and the vibration that you're creating as you're working towards your goals of modeling and going out into nature and taking that step of grounding and really connecting not only with yourself but with the universe.
Right.
And like the combination of those two things, and then the combination of your relationship with your agent, is that what it was? With your agent, and his passion for driving it. To me, I'm so open to the fact that you would have gotten that phone call. I know a lot of people aren't, but like from that connectedness, and I mean, there's obviously we're connected on the earth, through satellites and this and that. So like, sure, why not? There could have been, something that got you connected, some random thing hooked up and you got connected, but also your vibration connected you as well too. So that's just the way I try to live my life as well too. And it's proving to be a little bit more meaningful for myself, and I'm able to come from a much more positive standpoint when we do acknowledge some of those synchronicities. That's the magic.
So I have a question for you, and this has been a curiosity of mine since. When did we meet? That was a long time ago. It feels like now.
It was a good year. Oh, I forgot about that. Damn it! I'm sorry. Hold on one sec. Right?
Oh, looks like I lost you.
Yeah, hold on one sec. There we are. My bad. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that one. I'm on a electric light timer right there. That's going to be obnoxious.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
I'll get up and stretch in a couple minutes. About a year, I think, right?
I don't know. I literally don't remember because I feel like it's been at least a year for sure.
No, way longer than that. It's been at least a year and a half, if not longer. Yeah, my bad.
Damn.
Easy. I know, it's crazy, right?
It is, dude.
And that's the thing, bro. Like, we don't even remember that stuff, and we have. Yeah.
Sorry, my dog is trying to.
No, you're good. So we have so much stuff going on in between that time. Like, we don't remember. We're not keeping track of those dates. And we have so much going on in between that time period. And you were talking about it, like our 20-year-old version of ourselves. Like, that's one part of ourselves. And then when you and I met, that's another part of like each other, ourselves that we were. And we were who we were in that time. And then fast forward today. And then we are who we are today. And that like collective experience, like totally gets us obviously to where we are today, but most importantly to appreciate like that 20-year-old version of ourselves when we had that sound experience. Well, unbeknownst to us, that was a cool experience, but like, we're busy doing the things that we were doing. We just got out of high school. We're emulating the things and the stuff. We're still under the constructs of our parents and stuff. So like, it's really hard to take in all these cool brand new experiences and expect ourselves to be connected, because quite often we're disconnected. I mean, if nothing else, by that little guy and how it just pulls us around. And then we have our 9-to-5 jobs and we have this. So it's cool. We go through each of these parts and we turn into a new version of ourselves, and we're able to accept or see some of these things that are actually very important to us that we had no idea were important to us. And that's our vibration. That's our connection. That's how me and you connected this way. We didn't connect by talking about the weather or at work or something meaningless. Like, this is how, to me, relationships are. They're an exchange. Like, they're appreciating each other. Like, we appreciate each other's passions.
Right.
Look at how we're reciprocating each other. That's a relationship. Like, that's where the connections are made, I think.
But you're completely correct. And that's the thing, is that my opinion is that it is a two-way street. I do run through, I have I don't really have like a whole bunch of conversations with people. I do, but not meaningful conversations. It's very like
surface.
For most people, it is very surface. And I personally do not like surface level conversation. That's not in my nature, which is why this podcast was created in the first place, because I love to go deep. I love to understand. I love to, I love to just have those deep conversations. And this podcast is not the podcast for a one word response. I've said it in past podcast episodes that we've had that, I don't want anyone to come in and be a guest and only give one word answers, one word responses. It defeats the purpose. We had that on one of our earlier episodes for sure. Very early episodes, and learn from that real quick that we want people that want to be on here, that want to talk. They're very different people, but it's not something to sit here and just once again give those one word responses. So
the enjoyment in that too. We do that all day long, and like passing at stores where we're not just being conscious of our experience. So let's talk about it. Let's go deep, bro. Let's be vulnerable, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So for yourself, Jason, is there something that like actually got you so inspired to get into this, being like a spiritual enlightenment teacher, or what would you specifically call yourself in that form of your life?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And that just immediately goes to like labels and stuff I think about. Like I'm just stepping into being inspired. And to answer your question, I think the fact of not being inspired got me to where I am today, and just wanting to shine more light on joy instead of masking. So I believe that really got me to where I am today. A lot of masking, just decades of keeping up with expectations of what I thought my life should be, which are clouded by society and the generations and our parents and whatnot. But after living, it turned into like a lot of anxiety for me, and drinking was one of my main things, and that only exacerbated that. And we can go deeper into any of that if you will, but that's kind of what got me to where I am today. What would we call ourselves? Holistic practitioners, I would say.
It's your comfort, Jason. So I mean, if there's anything you want to stay away from, you can just tell me straight up.
And that's why, like anything I'm talking about, it's all fair game. If you want to dive into any deeper section of it, I'm totally good with it.
Yeah. So let's go into it then. So if again, you can go into me as well. Like it's all good. So
thank you. I love that about you, bro. That's again the connection. Like I'm not trying to hook up with somebody that's not vulnerable, that's trying to have a one-sided conversation and digging for blah blah blah, but yet not trying to be that person themselves. So I appreciate that.
I love it. That's the thing, dude. Is I ask. I know I can ask very difficult questions about people, and I think it's the maybe scared of being judged by the unknown or something of that nature. But dude, like for me, I can tell you this straight up. I'm unapologetically myself. This is just, it is what it is. There's so many facets to you and to myself that most don't even know about. And it's fine, because most people are never going to ask that question. So yes, you're welcome.
And if you're coming, be unapologetic, say everything you want to say. If you're coming, from that, and I often represent the emotional scale. So I'm saying, if you're coming from this vibration up there, speak all day long. If you're coming from down here, like, let's pause for a second and think where we're coming from. Because we're coming from lack, fear, shame, guilt. That often comes with like being reactive. And that's coming from our lower self. So if we can speak from up here, it's all coming from love. Like,
no, absolutely. It's that's all that it is. So as I've just understood this, there was some I would say, for a lot of people, some negative extracurricular activities that you would go into, that would basically, be some type of form of entertainment for yourself, or whatever the way you'd want to label it.
Well said.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to figure out the best way to ask it.
It really is like, that's what we're entertaining and we're occupying ourselves with. It is a form of entertainment yeah.
And that's just, so as I've understood this freshly, you had some type of issue or some type of something that you did not like about the drinking and maybe some other stuff. So is that what really brought you into wanting to 100%. Get into the sound vibrations, or what was your first step really?
So a lot of where I'm coming from today is really trying to honor myself more and loving myself more. And back then, I was masking it. I was running away from who I was, and I didn't like myself. That's the way I look at masking. It's when I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not going to speak for generalities or for others.
Yeah. No, this is all you. This is just you and me.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to project my feelings or what I think people should do or anything. But for me, I was masking. I was running away. I was not liking what I saw. So I was often turning into somebody else. And that was allowing me to go the opposite of what you're saying, and speaking from lack, though. I was coming from that lower vibration. So everything that was coming out of, an inebriated person, that's not joyous. That's not fun for that person. That's not fun for other people. And it took many, many years for me to catch on and relate feelings inside of my body. It wasn't even the head, because you're going through that loop, and I wrote down patterns, and patterns is what drives us to change. So it just took many, many years of those patterns to figure out that I didn't enjoy those patterns. And now I'm to the point of trying to create, or I am creating new patterns. And it's easier to see simultaneously the patterns that I'm not enjoying. So even last night we were talking about intentions and letting go of what no longer serves us. And part of mine was the patterns. And one pattern that I thought of, and I just brought it up again, it's like, I'm so interested in learning now. It's so different. And we can jump into this too. There's many topics, like the construct of what we are told to learn, what we have to learn for the first 12 years of our lives. And then after that, what we think we should learn. But there's so much now that I really want to learn outside of that construct, that I need to slow down, because it's all there. It's going to be there. But I get so excited. And we were talking about this last night. Like, we're so excited. We want to gather information. We want to share information, but there's no stillness in that. Like, there's no introspection. That's a loop cycle of chasing things. And to me, that's trauma. So as I'm doing the work that I'm doing continuously, and that I will always do for the rest of my life, and that's part of answering the question as well too. It's just wanting to rediscover myself constantly, because I like who I'm starting to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
So when you're saying these patterns, what do you specifically mean by these patterns?
So old patterns, so negative, lower vibrational patterns in my life were definitely drinking and redoing that pattern, and we don't need to talk about that. That's an obvious pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Studying, researching things that might not serve that higher vibration. And we were talking about current events last night, and the fact that those do impact us in many, many ways, but how do we not allow it to impact us while negatively emotionally, to the point where it affects the way that we outwardly project ourselves? Because it's very easy to see, sorry, there's a fly over here.
You're fine.
It's very easy to look at things and say, okay, these are not right. This is not right. And then continue to go down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the other end, like, what do we do? How can we change that? And a lot of it is what we intake. audibly, what we're watching, what we're hearing. So how do we push that back into the world for it to reverberate so we don't have to continue to have those negative cycles transpire across the world? I think we're all very much responsible for anything that goes on this planet, whether we're directly affected by it or directly connected to it. I think our vibration can definitely combat the greater masses by the people that we interact with, just strangers, family, and just changing each other's perspectives to be able to appreciate each other. And I think that's the main point of where we're going today, me and you, and where we were yesterday, is being able to see different perspectives, because you and I were, I'm sure, a little bit different, and we can even run into different views through the next hour that we might see differently. But the fact of the matter is, we are going to respect the shit out of each other and honor each other's views. And by us doing that, by us giving each other that respect, everybody else that we come into contact is going to get that same somewhat level of respect for us, and it's going to continue to reverberate. And some of these topical issues that we're not pleased with will eventually get affected by that vibration and that change. And that goes back to the singing bowls and the reorganization and all of it. It all ties in together. We're all vibrational beings having a vibrational experience. So if we can change the vibration from a low vibration to a high vibration, there's a thing called entrainment, and like attracts like, and that higher vibration mandates that that other vibration come up and meet it. It's the law. It's the laws of the universe. I don't make this shit up. It's just one of the laws, man. And like, I'm just using some of these laws to turn into the person that I want to be. And just it's so much more hopeful and loving and prosperous, and as opposed to, you can really look at some of the stuff that's going on and really feel lack and bring lack into it and say, but lack attracts lack. And I'm not willing to go down that road. I still have a lot of experience. We all have a lot of experience. How do we want to exit this experience? Like, at what level do we want to exit it? Do you want to be that crotchety old man? Or do you want to be that bubbly old man that's skipping around town at 95? Like, there's those people that are out there. You just have to want what you want.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because I don't know if it's as much funny as it is just kind of super understanding about this, because I said this in a solo episode previously, that there's this whole thing. I guess before I go into that one, I'll go into touch the point on the vibrations. Our audience, man, I got ADD and ADHD, so I'll literally go all these different ways of talking. So, and I'll eventually come back to what I was saying. So but it keeps you on your toes. But a couple weeks ago, I went to this networking event over down in La Jolla, and I met with this dude. Believe his name is Richard, and he actually brought it up voluntarily. Did not provoke the topic of discussion, and he was talking about vibrations. He's like, the people who operate at a higher vibration, he's like, you, Damien, 0 out of 10, you're like out of 10. But like, you're the type that you can walk into a room and people automatically get attracted to you because of your higher vibration. But he's like, these other people that don't respond well to that higher vibration, they're maybe at like a 3 or 4, and you're at a 10. You may have to bring yourself down a few notches, down to maybe a 7 or an 8, so you can bring them up to maybe like a 6 or a 7, maybe even a 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I thought we were talking about real estate today. I had no idea I was going to be talking about something like this. And he was just like, he's like, well, I'm not in real estate myself, but my friend is, and that's why I'm here. But the fact is still that you are at a very high vibration, and people are attracted to that. And so I was just like, I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's very true. And I feel like if more people could understand what it does truly mean to be at that higher vibrational level, like the higher vibrational levels would definitely be like a Tony Robbins, like a Gary Vee, a Grant Cardone. Those are high vibrational characters, right? And so it's like, you know, you have even yourself that's a high vibration. You have me that's a high vibration. Adrian, co-host, he's a high vibration. But it takes, what I've noticed so far, and I've actually been doing some coaching on the side, and I've been, so to kids, that is. And with this is a great example, an amazing example to go from adult to a child, because the vibrations that you put off, right? There's kids that are going through some shit. That's just bottom line.
Yeah.
And we as adults,
all kids,
yeah,
right? Yeah, all humans.
Yeah, everyone's going through something. Doesn't matter what age you are. And it's crazy because, you know, there's some that are super shy, super shy. Goes for everyone, kids and adults. It doesn't matter. Even old people, it goes to you too. You can be at a low vibration. And what I think, my opinion of a low vibration is not willing to be yourself. You've basically masked, quote unquote, masked yourself to be this kind of shy hermit crab. But when in reality, you may want to come out like a knight in shining armor, but you're afraid to be judged. So that's why you keep yourself in a little bit more. And it's basically the point of being afraid of what others are going to think. And you know, that's where kids and adults alike, you know, they're not alike, but in the way of being human, they are. And it takes somebody special, like yourself, Jason, like myself, like Adrian, to be able to come in and show everybody that, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can be yourself. Look at me. I'm looking like an asshole. Like, I'm just like coming out here like making a fool out of myself. But like but you see me, and I'm showing.
You're giving people permission, bro.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like you're not like, you're being your authentic self, like asshole, authentic self. I guess somehow can like coincide with each other, but you're being who you are, and that's attracting people. That's that vibration. You want that, and that's why you're successful at what you're doing.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, is that, like, you know, for a lot of people I've seen, I really say this, like, especially kids, because kids, like, with me doing this coaching thing at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of shy kids, right? Lots of shy kids. And if I could be that person that influenced them to be their greater self, don't be afraid to be that way. Yeah. It's like we had just finished basketball, right? And like literally from day one to yesterday was the last day for basketball. They were dribbling, they were passing, they were precision shooting, so crazy. But they went from disrespecting and just acting out to completely respecting, yes or no, sir, minding their P's and Q's. And it's the same thing with adults too. You have a lot of adults, especially like salespeople that I've trained in the past, they have no idea how to do sales. Sales is all, in my opinion, it's about reading the room, your tonality, being a people person in some ways, understanding like what mirroring is, all these things. Like it's almost like a psychological mind fuck. And, you know, it's one of these things that there's a lot of people who don't feel like they can do it, but everyone can. I taught it. Literally, it's something that's very easy to teach. You just have to be can't be afraid of it.
Can I jump in on that one?
Please, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so
thank you, by the way.
No, you're good. So coming from one salesman to another, like I don't even know that you know this about me. I've been a salesman for like over 30 years. And I love like the training aspect that you're going through too. And I know some of this has been trained along the way, but like it needs to be called out possibly a little bit more which ties into our beginning conversation. And for sales, you want to be a kick-ass sales dude? Have empathy. You want to be a kick-ass sales dude? Have vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be good salesperson, I often attribute pain. Like, where are people having pain?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having pain in customer service? Are you having pain in quality?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having pain in pricing? Is your pricing too high? Are you not able to beat out your competitors? But how am I going to be vulnerable to better easily understand? How am I going to have empathy to understand why that person is struggling and how I can help them succeed? And now I'm going on to something else, which I was thinking of this entire time, because we're both so high energy and we both like to talk a lot. Like, understanding that we have two of these and one of these, and from a sales standpoint, we really need to utilize these way more than this, because you'll talk yourself out of a sale.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can listen and you can be vulnerable and you can be empathetic and you can hear those things, that's how relationships are started. Just like we were saying, the more impactful relationships in our lives are those relationships, but also your business relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to have a transactional relationship in business, or would you rather have that other relationship in business? And that's the way I go to market with all of my customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the people who I deal with, man. And it's like, that's nice to be able to, because then you work a little bit harder for those people as well too.
Absolutely.
I mean, and sales is cool, right? Like,
yeah, sales is
people.
The sales is cool. You know, I have been in so many different facets of it. You know, for me, man, it's just been one of those things that, you know, the audience knows this, but for those that don't know, you know, I've been in business for myself since I was 21. And that means I've got like majority of 13 years, going on 14 years now, of working for myself. And it's been insane, because whenever you're young, you're dumb, no matter which way. Whenever I was young and someone told me, yo, you're gonna be young and dumb, I took offense to that shit all day long, because I wasn't the one that's going out to the clubs. I'm not the one that was going out doing drugs and drinking. In fact, that's never really been my thing. I've always been the type to put my head to the grindstone and let's work. And everything else I could give a fuck about. Don't care. You know, don't care about the clubs, don't care about the friends, don't care about it. And that's one way that, you know, my first big company that I fortunately built, it was successful, because I wasn't going out. I wasn't doing these things. Everyone else was. I'm sitting here 24 years old, and I had something great that I built.
Yeah.
And I didn't have friends. Literally, like, all I would do was wake up, go to work, go to the gym, get some Chipotle, go to sleep, maybe smoke a bit, and go to sleep. And that's the way it went for me. And that's the way the majority of my life has been so far. And it's cool. And then it really sucks whenever, you know, you're amazing at what you do, and then you have people wanting to come in when you start working for somebody, and they like, we're going to teach you how to be a master salesman. And it's like, bro, fuck, man, this is bullshit. Like, complete bullshit. Like, why? Like, you know what works for you. You may need to learn a system of how they do things, but overall, that's, you know, not to make this as a sales thing, but like,
no, I love
topic
sales
of discussion. It's just, you know, it's definitely not a one size fits all. Systematically, yes, but you, Jason, are going to be very different than the way I will be, and that's why,
like, sales wise, even, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
In sales, absolutely. With us being just ourselves.
Oh yeah.
just as an individual, you know, we might be damn near the fucking same way. But it's cool because like attracts like, even likes, like the positive vibes will attract the negatives, because the negatives will be so curious about how is this person so positive.
Yeah.
And then it comes down, and then this positivity over here will end up bringing the negativity up, maybe bring it down a little bit on the positivity side, because you're having to use so much vibrational power to bring this negative up. You have to bring yourself down a little bit because of the energy that it takes, but then you end up kind of coming up like that. And I think
kind
that's
of entrainment a little bit, right? Is what you're describing. And the guy who you met down there in La Jolla, it's so easy to see while your counterpart would have brought that dude with him. Like, are you kidding me? Why would you not bring that high vibrational being? He's attracting all kinds of stuff his way. He's attracting your inquisitiveness. You're going to potentially, did you interface with your counterpart as well? His buddy at the event?
Yeah.
Not surprising, right?
The counterpart, as in, what do you mean by the
realtor, right? That's the guy who you spoke with. He was there with his realtor friend, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you talk to that realtor?
Yeah, she was the one hosting the event.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, she's how intelligent, right? Like, what an intelligent woman.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she totally understands the laws of the universe and how she's attracting that energy, and what cool business relationships she's attracting by having that gentleman there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, he's 100%. Like, he's weeding through all the bullshit, all the people that don't vibrate with that dude, and those are all the people she doesn't want to do business with anyways.
Right.
People that aren't attracted to him.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, like, he does like some type of security business and something like that, but yeah, it's just kind of, you know, he's a cool guy for sure.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was very insane about the fact that, you know, a conversation I did not expect to have, of a topic I definitely did not expect to have, was had. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, the hell? So I thought it was super cool for sure. So, I mean,
synchronicities, man. These are like that we're calling into our awareness. Like, that felt so good to you by the way you're expressing it right now. Like, you called that into your awareness.
Yeah, dude. So let's say like this, like, I'm gonna ask a question and there's no right or wrong way to answer it. This is like some stuff that I've been able to kind of get prepared for today, if you will.
I love it.
Just like, I don't know, just like some random shit.
I love it.
So to you, Jason, what does it mean to live authentically, and how can we shed societal expectations to find our true selves? It's a deep question, bro.
Yeah. We're starting off in the beginning, so we're born, right? And we're pure, so we're essentially trying to we are reintegrating to our true essence. So we're constantly in training ourselves, which is releasing blockages. I mean, these are all things that you just touched on completely. Mm-hmm. Like, even from yourself and the way that your regimentedness of how you became successful, the children that we're speaking of, we're integrating back into ourselves. Like, the fact that you're inquisitive about this, that you're bringing up this podcast, like, you're stepping into your true nature, which is getting through all those past obstructions and the constructs. So, like, our parents put these limitations on us, young and dumb. That's traumatic. Young and dumb creates regimented behaviors, work to the grindstone. Like, you can do better. Like, you ended up smashing it to an effect potentially and that could have been caused by trauma, by somebody saying, you're young and dumb, you don't know enough. And there's something in our childhood potentially that has us thinking that, yeah, we aren't. And I believe that guy, but these things started at younger ages. And so we have these blockages, and I'm scrolling out and I'm even forgetting your original conversation, but I know it's all going to tie back.
You're all good.
So uncover these blockages to get back into our true essence. We're vibrational beings. We shut down when things happen to us. So when and it can be big or small. I love this analogy because this is the smallest one. Spilt milk to somebody can be completely different to another person. Somebody can freak the F out and like yell at themselves, yell at their children, stop everything that they're doing. The other person could just come up and just simply wipe it off and like pour themselves another glass of milk or cereal or whatever you're using the milk for. So like our perceptions of how we twins, you can have identical twins that grow up, and you can have one person that's just completely on that positive side of that emotional scale, and the other one's on the completely other side. Right. And they were perceivably raised by the same people, grew up in the same household, went to the same schools, but the perception of how they perceived what was going on, whether it was to them or in their experience, that's the way they internalized it, and your cells remember it. And we'll leave it at that on that point for right now.
Yeah, no, you're all good.
But these are things that we have to break down, and we have to get back to our true essence. So that's the thing. So right now, and I believe that's what I'm hearing from you is like, are you also on that journey of really trying to discover your true essence and figure out what you really want to do to be fulfilled? That's kind of like what I'm hearing by you figuring out these passions and going on, not to put words in your mouth, but like we all tie into each other, I feel like, and our aspirations and our zest for life and our just, you mentioned society and just stopping those cycles. What cycles are we happy with? Are we happy about being in the same cycle, about like watching news and watching just the rigidity of, purple being right and pink being wrong? Like, who cares if purple's right and pink's wrong? And anyways, like, who said even purple's right? Did purple say purple's right? Did society say purple's right? Like, how in the heck do we allow ourselves to be just so affected? But that's what we are. We're humans. Like, we're humans. So it takes so much effort to figure out what we really want, because we can so get caught up in the purples and pinks of everything. It could be entertainment, it could be news, it could be food, it could be clothes, it could be music. Like, there's so many polarizing things in people's sports. Holy shit, man. Like, people embody like the personalities of sports teams. Even you're not even on the effing team, bro. You're not on the team. And do you want to be on the team? I don't want to be on a team.
I think it's so funny.
I don't want to be on a team. I want to be Jason. I want to be my true essence, which goes back to your original question, I think. And we're figuring that out. We're just integrating, we're reconnecting with our true essence constantly. And I think some of us have that zest and really want to discover it. And like, I feel like we're kind of running towards it a little bit, but then we need to slow the F down too, because that's resistance.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to cram that square into that round, like that's where you're going to get resistance. So like leaning into something gently. And that's the lesson I'm teaching myself right now. Like, be gentle with yourself, bro. Like, there's no race, there's no finish line.
Yeah.
I'm just practicing. And I just want to continue to practice on myself.
It's funny, you bring up the sport deal. And I almost made a joke, like, did you watch a past episode that like how the sports mindset versus the business mindset? Because it's funny that you use the sport analogy, bottom line, because
I love that we're going here, bro, because this is a point of differentiation. I can almost guarantee it for us, and the commonality that we're going to find right now, I bet.
I would not be surprised. But here's the thing, is that in that episode, we spoke about how, for me as an athlete, right, how I was able, because I have no college education. right? None. Like some college, but it was just basics, and I was there for like half a semester, and I said, "Fuck it, bye." Like, no, this is not for me. I just want to go make money.
That wasn't your
And
construct, right?
no, not at all. Not at all. I didn't like high school. I didn't like school as it is. Like, I was not the student. I was all day long the athlete.
Same, dude.
So
not athlete, but the schooling, same, not the athlete.
So, and that's the thing. So, like, whenever I went into like the sports mindset, it's very, very comparative to the business mindset in the ways that here's a cliche phrase: when you get knocked down, you got to get back up. Okay,
it's wrong, right?
And I have made lots of money in my life, and I've also been homeless multiple times in my life, and that's no joke. That is what it is. I can't change it. It's just, kind of built this character that you get to see today.
It's part of you. That's your experience. You wouldn't be who you are today without having experienced both of those extremes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that how they both are so similar is that you're going to go through, let's say for myself, creating businesses. There's going to be some that don't fucking work. And there's going to be some that are like, Adrian would love this saying, it's a knock out of the park, because it just worked. But there's going to be a lot of people in the same breath that are going to say everything negative to you, everything. And the same thing in sports. People are going to heckle against you. In comedy, people heckle against you. All this shit. You get so much negativity back, and you never even ask for it. All you're trying to do is do a good fucking job. And so at the end of the day, you're trying to do a good job because you have this goal that you want to do a good job for yourself, because this is going to amount in some type of financial successions, which is great. That's the goal. And whatever the underlying mission statement is that you've prepared for yourself, then great, as long as those two are coinciding. But the big thing is just, you got to practice. Every fucking day you have to practice, and you're not practicing your body. You're practicing your mind to become better. Like you're saying earlier, that you want to go in and you're trying to learn all this shit. So you're like having to find yourself, like just pacing yourself not to rush and all this stuff. It's like you're just going in, you're doing it on your time, and because it's always going to be there. The same, like I'm very different on that. I want to do something, I fucking go for it. I'm cannonball, let's go. Yeah. And it's like do a fucking gainer and everything. Like I'm all in it. I love it. And that's the thing, is that there's some people like yourself that pacing yourself. And then there's people like me that I think are like very intense individuals, I would say, that's my opinion on it, that I'm going in and I'm fucking going hard. I don't give a shit until I like complete this thing. And I did it with my life insurance license, did it with my real estate license. I've done it with like my last career that I had in raising capital for a medical device company. I learned that entire company literally, what is it, like 48 hours? I learned the entire company from top to bottom, left and right. Like you couldn't ask me a question that I did not know about it, because I literally did not sleep. I went in hardcore to learn as much as I could about the product, about the industry, about the company, about the formalities, about everything. And I didn't fucking stop. But that's why I became VP within the first 6 months. Because I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm here. Like, let's go. And that's all I know and what you said, Jason, from the past. I do have a lot of past trauma. I fucking admit that shit all day. That, and this is I love these topics of discussion, because there's a lot of people who go through this, especially people that are multicultural. And I said this on my solo episode, which was the fact that, there's a lot of different cultures out there, not even religions, just cultures that that do not want you to portray any type of emotion or questioning about anything. They just want you to accept it. There's no emotion. You're this way and that's that. There's no questioning. And there's a lot of people, because unfortunately they are emotionally being suppressed. This goes hand in hand with what you and your sweetheart Monique do on the side, which is the spiritual enlightenment, the guidance, the sound baths, the Reiki, it's opening your mindset to a whole new way to look at the life, and for you to really hone in on your individualism, which was something that we lightly spoke about last night, and says, and really gives yourself that fucking permission, saying it's okay. Just because I've been taught this doesn't mean I can't do this. It is okay. And there's a lot of people who, and I do mean this, very unfortunately, go through this on a daily basis. And it sucks.
Unaware.
Yeah. It's like, whether it's being unaware, whether it's being aware, but they have just too much pride for their culture, that happens all the fucking time. Yeah. I have a few old friends that literally are in that mindset that I can't cry because that's not how my culture is. And I'm like, dude, last time I checked, your culture isn't paying you unless you're in the part of the Indian tribe. Then yeah, they're paying you. But most cultures, they're not paying you like that. So why
are we tied to it? Right?
Huh?
Why are we tied to it then? Why is that?
Exactly. It's just, and that part, my opinion on that is just that it would stem from the way that you got brought up. 100. And that's the unfortunate part, because the way that you got brought up is not the only thing that's the same is school. That's the only thing that's the same to this day. That it was way back in the 1800s, even fucking caveman days. It's the same fucking way overall.
See, can I pause?
Please.
Dude, so the institution of schooling, I would say, changed dramatically in the 1900s. And it changed from being open and thoughtful and individualistic to being much more rigid. Look at the schools now. Look at the way schools used to be built. They had those cool A-frame buildings. You had the teacher in there, super passionate, teaching about things that were going on. They were teaching about nature. They were walking outside and they were gardening. They were doing different things. They understood animals and how to tend cattle and all these things. Now we're rigid. We're being told how to do math now. Mm-hmm. We're literally being told how to do math now. That doesn't make any sense to parents for sure, because that's not the way that we were taught. So the rigidity of schooling shuts us down from creativity 110%, even over the last recent decades, the arts that's been pulled out of the school. Dude, I took so many things in school. I don't see this stuff over there. I took wood shop. I even took the driver's training in school, which is not an art, but some of these things that help prepare children, which is so important, which is what you were touching on. They're closed off, man. These fucking kids are closed off. To your point, they're closed off culturally, because I could speak to it because my wife's half Hispanic, and sometimes that culture of being emotionally strong, and the word machismo comes to mind. Sometimes that's the cultural thing that you might be speaking of, touching on it very lightly. There's religious trauma. I'm uncovering a lot of that right now. And what we're told by our parents, most likely, and their belief systems on what we should believe. And then sometimes we go to institutions that don't vibrate. That's me, dude. And that don't vibrationally match with us. And then we're continuing to go to these things and it doesn't feel right. And then there's epigenetics that
Mhm.
we're not even talking about, which is like generation. Like those are our cells. That's the
Mhm.
memory. I mean, think about it. When our mom had us in her stomach, she has a direct connection to her mother. So like even just thinking about small scale, like there's 3 people touching each other right there,
Mhm.
like 3 generations touching. And like, what happened to your mom when we were in her womb? What happened to her mother? You
Mhm.
know, and what was passed on to us? So like there's these cellular things, let alone these societal things, and they 100% block us off. So these kids, so how do we get back to our true nature?
Right.
And that, I think, is really talking about some of these things and being vulnerable, understanding that it's okay to be closed off. Like, why would we not be closed off? And understanding that and acknowledging it. There's so, if there's one thing we can do as humans, it's to give people permission to feel and to understand that they're okay for feeling this way or being this way. It's not who we were. That's
Right.
our true nature, our true essence. And that's what I keep on going back to. Like, I'm going back to my true essence. Like, I'm having more fun in my relationships. I have more fun in work. Everything's more fun every day as we discover and as we continue to get rid of some of those blockages. And there's plenty
Mhm.
from my standpoint. Like I'm doing the work every day.
So, what is some of the stuff that you're going into right now that like that you're teaching yourself, whether whatever facets it is, it literally you choose,
Love
that
it.
you're trying to pace yourself on.
This is so cool, man. This is like so vulnerable. Like I've never talked about, or no, I do, but not on such a larger scale. But weekly work for me is inner child healing and EMDR. You
What's
know,
EMDR?
it's and I always screw up the acronym.
It's okay.
Movement desensitization. Um, so you use your eyes as you're processing information.
Hmm.
A lot of what I'm doing now is I'm bringing up questions for my younger self and things that are coming up in my life
Hmm.
now, and most specifically reactions to different stimuli. And I'm not the guy that flies off the handle, and I'm not like wiping things off of grocery shelves. It's just normal human stuff that we all go through with. So the reactions that I'm not happy with and that I feel aren't integrated, I'm going back to my childhood and trying to comfort my younger self and tell him, hey, dude, like there's a reason why you were closed off for all those years. There's a reason why you were masking, and you're safe now. So
Hmm.
comforting yourself and acknowledging who we are today
Hmm.
and trying to find that feeling that we feel when we feel separated or disconnected, or when that tinge of anxiety comes up, and connecting that back to where that originally started. Like, where did that start happening? Were you told that you were young and dumb? Were
Hmm.
you told that you were angry when you were a young child? Did you internalize those things? Did you believe them? Hell yeah, you believed a lot of the stuff. We all believed the stuff.
Hmm.
Like we were aspiring to be adults. Like we wanted
Hmm.
to figure it out. We're just young kids. We're like, man, I can't wait to be able to drive. I can't wait until I'm 18. I can't wait till I can drink. Well, all these people are walking us to these points that they had no skill set. So like that's what I love about what you're saying. Like you're giving the next generation a skill set, because unless we start training ourselves, we're going to continue to go, and this goes back to it, the
Hmm.
same damn cycle. Like we're going to
Yep.
repeat it. My
Yeah.
mom my mom repeated the same cycle that her mom repeated. Like she told me that. And I repeated the same cycle that they repeated, at least for most of my life. But I told her the buck stops here, because like I'm going to figure this out for myself. And I definitely caused trauma for my children as well too. And I think every single parent, or I know every single parent, causes trauma to their children in one way, shape, or form. I Yeah, the buck stops here. The buck stops here. Like my grandchildren will not have to go through some of the things that we went through, because I'm doubling down and doing the work now for my children, and I'm working very hard for them. And that is going to allow them to be able to address what they need to address, seeing their parents address what they need to address. And when they're ready to have kids, they're going to be in a much better position to not, unbeknownst to them, cause trauma. Like, a lot of that will be left. Like,
Right.
they're going to cause their own trauma. Like, it's inevitable, but like not the big things, not those big things. Like, that's going to be, my grandkids hopefully will have to worry about more of the spilt milk. Like, they'll have to worry about
the
that.
First world problems.
Right? Like, they shouldn't have to worry about like being yelled at for being creative when they're 2 years. Damn it, Sally, will you just be quiet? We're trying to watch this TV, and Sally's over there trying to be as creative as possible. The buck stops there with my children. I sure as shit hope, and I, knowing who they are, they're going to really promote creativity and that connectiveness to our pure nature at a young age. So those blockages are so much less. Like, that's the vision. So like, that's what you're allowing too. Like, you're creating for those children to finally be able to, like, their childhood, they have problems. That's why they're shut off. So you're opening them up an hour and a half down the road after you're coaching them. Like, they're coming from their higher selves. Like, they're coming from respect. They're being vulnerable. They're trying new things. They're succeeding. They feel good. So they walked in with this vibration, and you allowed them, because of what you co-created with them, to leave at a higher vibration. So thank you, brother, for affecting the next generations. I don't say that lightly, dude. I do not say that.
No, it's cool because, you know, I'm not, like my love tells me, and she tells a lot of people this as well. It's kind of it's like no guess. Is that I don't do the greatest with little kids. Once they get up into like grade school and everything, is what I found out about myself, that it does definitely, I do really great with them, like superb with them. And especially because a lot of the teachers that I was around and everything, you know, they know that I have this podcast as well. And, you know, some of them actually watched it on YouTube, which I thought was really funny. And came back and was just like, you know, I wish I could show my kids these episodes.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I wish you could too. But, you know, it's one of those things that unless the parent is doing it themselves, then, because I curse a lot, you know, I am my unfiltered self. Like, I'm not, like, that's why I created this. I want to be my unfiltered self. I want to be the person that in public settings, such as last night is a perfect example. Last night, I am not my authentic self. Why?
Interesting.
I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
And I saw you at the end, which I felt your authentic self, like when you were talking. But I understand what you're saying, though, actually.
Because in that moment that you're referring to, yes, you're spot on. And the other parts that I'm referring to is there's people that are going through some gnarly shit. They have to work through shit. That's why they're there. They're like we talked about in the beginning of this episode today. They're trying to fucking figure out, because they might have heard it from Chelsea lately. They probably heard it from somebody else, from some other comedian that does deep talks like myself. And they're like, well, shit, maybe I should go ahead and see what sound baths are all about. And then they find out, hey, this is a safe space that, hey, I can be myself and I can say what I felt and no one here is going to fucking judge me.
Right.
So for me, and my love has to warn me about this all the time and just has to remind me a lot, because it's like, because I understand that there's a lot of crazy shit that people in your circles that go to these sound baths, that go to the Reiki, that go to the couples healing or whatever, and couples enlightenment, whatever the hell it is, they go to it.
Yeah.
And they are working through shit that you and I have no fucking clue about. But what you and I have been able to do is once again create that safe space and allowing them to say how they feel, to say what they want without, again, the fear of being judged, like I said before.
Yeah.
And for me, that's why I shut the fuck up. That's why I don't talk really that much as I would want to, because
and that's your non-authentic self that you're speaking of, is the quieter version. Gotcha.
Correct.
Yeah. Totally see that, dude.
I can't, like, because, dude, what you're seeing right now,
yeah,
this is my authentic self.
Because you're a personality, like you want to be mixing it up.
Dude, I am all over the place. I wish I smoked before this because, like, I don't know, man. I love whenever I smoke a bowl and like get on a podcast, because then I just like get into a different side of myself, which, you know, and it's really funny because one of my favorite characters of all time is the Joker.
Oh, I love
the Joker. The Joker is the first reason why the color green is my favorite color. And you can see it on my pad here as well. Green, totally. I got my phone case is green.
I love it,
dude. I have this porcelain elephant that my love made me. Got that right here. It's green. It's different shades of green. Like, green is my shit, right? Yeah. And so the gnarly ways that the Joker's character, Jack Nicholson's character, Heath Ledger's character, Joaquin Phoenix's character, I love it. Because the reason why I love it is not because it's so violent. It's because you never know what is going to happen next. And I absolutely love that because it creates a specific type of spice of life that people don't get to have every day from a character, from one individual. You can come off as a main character, but you can show a different side of you that most have never seen before. You can show the empathetic side of you. You can show the outgoing side of you, the introverted side of you, the troublemaker side of you, the fucking closer, the guy that's going to come in and just teach kids, and you had no fucking clue that this guy is coming in and teaching anybody anything. Like, for me, you would see me, you'd see me out in the streets. Let's say, like, whenever I go farm, right? I go farm neighborhoods. I go knock on doors. Hey, my name's Damian Gary. I'm a realtor. Just wanted to introduce myself, and that's it. Versus me being in a coaching atmosphere, and you're like, oh yeah, you just see me as a coach. Yeah. And here you are running this podcast, and then it's like you're being this version, but like the kids get this other version of you that's like a little cleaned up, but still leadership and inspiration and promotes creativity, but also in sports. And it's like, what the fuck is going on with you, man? So
different hat, bro. Right? Different hat. But you want to wear that different hat. And you know what? That's funny. I never thought about what came to mind is vulnerable. Like, the Joker is very vulnerable, that he's willing to be each of those personalities and to allow himself to shine through in the way that he's comfortable. Like, that works for him, right?
Yeah.
He steps into each of those roles. So like, I see how that coincides, like, from a positive standpoint, right? Not from
a positive standpoint all day long. Yeah. I mean, dude, even from a point of getting what the dude wants, man. Like, he
working hard, practicing.
He practices by trying and failing, and then if his plan backfired on him, he has a backup for his backup for his backup. And it's like,
that dude's persistent. He was trying to give Batman some shit, man.
Dude, trolling all day long.
Sorry, bro.
All day long.
Light always wins, Joker. Sorry, bro.
I know, man. Wins. And that's the thing. It's just like, I think it's such a dynamic character. And that's like, even as a kid, I always was drawn to that character. And I think for myself, you know, my dad, I'm gonna scratch that. I'm probably gonna edit that part out because actually, no, this is like an unfiltered, but my biological father,
I love you.
he told me only one thing that stuck with me. One thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, I think maybe two things. One was to never limit yourself to what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
That was number one. Number two was always learn how something works.
How something what?
For always learn how something works.
Yeah. Understand
So my biological father, like I was saying before, is that he taught me those two things. The don't limit yourself to what you can do, number one, and number two was to learn how things work. The reason why the learn how things work was because, if I'm ever stranded somewhere, let's say my vehicle, something happens, and you could put that to any facet of life, right? Any part of it doesn't matter. Um, you know how to get out of the situation very easily.
Yeah.
And so for most people, they're not told these survival techniques. I would say they're definitely survival techniques because at the end of the day, I just literally, like a few nights ago, my love and I, we went to Subway down the street, and this kid, I say a kid, but he's probably like 18 or probably 17 or something.
Mm-hmm.
He was having some car issues. He's like, "Hey, can we, um, do you know anything about cars?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, I do. What's going on?" And so I ended up not figuring it out at all, just because I was sketched out about the situation in general. They just kind of gave me weird vibes and whatnot. But the whole thing is just that kids being able to be taught the lessons of life and the specific guidance that, if whether you want to say it for guidance or the past traumas that kind of put you into the lessons of like how to get through shit.
Yeah.
It's super amazing to be able to do that for yourself. Like I think it's just super awesome to be able to survive and to learn how to do these things. But especially I think it's really cool whenever, you have an elder that is telling you these things and going from there,
Yeah.
That's just kind of my thing.
It's so hard to find that too. Like, when are we able to find those things? Like, as individuals, like at one point in our life, like the stars have to fully align for us to even have that awareness, let alone to like do anything with it. Because like I didn't have that awareness for over 40 years, Damien. Like I had this conversation that we're having, like for the first 40 plus years of my life, I would have zero idea what you're talking about. And I'd be like, why is this guy wasting my time talking about shit that I don't understand?
Yeah.
That's my honest opinion of how I would have felt about it. And like now I couldn't be more interested in what we're talking about right now. Like it's so engaging, but it comes back to those blockages and stuff and thank you for being so vulnerable and speaking about your biological, because like that takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to like step into that. And like those are the statements that resonate with me. Well, with those two statements, there's a lot of things that also didn't come along with that. So like for you to acknowledge that and to be stepping into discovery and trying to, figure out these things and connect the dots and become more whole. Like, thank you for doing that, because again, it comes into like your vibration and what you're giving out there. But not only that, you're providing that self-discovery for other people, because these same kids, like they don't have that as well too. We're super closed off as a society. Like we are not, I mean, it's the whole, you scraped your knee, brush it off and get back up, be tough, or, thick skin, like all these terms, like people take them so literally. They're not just cliche sayings. These are things that are ingrained in our bodies, and this is what's happening in society. Like they're brushing it off and they're continuing and they're not acknowledging the emotions. we are all emotional beings. Like, if anybody doesn't think that, like, you're crazy. And the root of emotions is it's energy. The E is energy, and the body is in motion. That's energy in motion. We are constantly in motion, and we're emotional beings. So the more that we discount that and the more that we don't acknowledge that, the more separate not only we are from ourselves, but from each other and from our planet. That goes back to the original on what you were talking about, like getting outside. Yep. I think you were talking about like grounding, like taking off the rubber soles and touching the earth. Like, yep. Even if it's concrete, that's organic material that was gotten out of the earth, that was crunched up, there was water poured in it. The rubber is not conductive. That closes us off. And like, we are closed off in society by playing video games. Like, everybody gives we give our kids cell phones way too early. Everybody's on a freaking phone, man. It's what is it? The Social Dilemma on Netflix or something, I think it's called, about like social media and like the impacts of what that has on us as a society. And yeah, it's crazy, man. So like, let's just uncover these things and just rise vibrationally a little bit higher, but let's do what you're doing. Like, let's everybody be aware of that. Like, how we talk to kids is affecting how the next generation is going to be running this planet. So if we continue to close people off, tell them to shut up and listen and do as I told, we're going to end up with a bunch of followers. And that's kind of the school system that I was talking about. Like, let's be creative. Let's start podcasts. Let's start our own business. People buy from who people like. That's why you started your businesses at a young age, because you had something to offer. It wasn't the businesses, so to speak. It was your energy. It's what people gravitated towards you. So like, let's be conscious of that energy that we're bringing and that it's supporting each other as a whole. It has to support ourselves first. We have to fully support ourselves and love ourselves first before we can do shit in this world, or else we're just going to be a drain. Like, if you can't love yourself, we're going to be a constant drain, and we're going to detract on the common goal that we should all have, which is to uplift each other and to be more complete, to have, less barriers, more inclusivity. Like, that's what this planet needs.
So I have another question for you. What would you say was the most transformative moment in your life, though, so far?
So like, I wonder if it would be a catalyst, or if it would be something. Either way, dude. How do you want to talk about it? Like, because was it something that propelled you to try something new?
There's no right or wrong way to answer it, man. It's all about you. It's like, I think I have, I think I've got one for myself for sure. Again, there's no right or wrong way to answer it. It's just.
Well, let's do a propel then. So let's do what propels or what drives change. I think that's probably one of the most important things, and to acknowledge, is dis-ease. And that's the prequel to disease. Like, it's dis, and then you're just not at ease. So I think that's what's been the most enjoyable thing, I think, is the contrast, I guess, and just being able to appreciate the contrast. So I would say two of the biggest things that have propelled me to want to drive change would be, one is separating with Monique about like 10 plus years ago. I'm forgetting how long. And I attribute that to being the best and the worst thing that has ever, and this is not my type of speech, but I'm going to say happened to me. That's not what I mean.
Yeah, you're all good.
Because I'm just trying to stay focused on the topic.
Yeah.
That's the best thing and the worst thing. It was the most amount of work that I've ever had to put into myself and understanding who I was. And then it was the best thing because the results that drove from it. So like, I really got to know myself a little bit better, but I think it even took longer because I think anxiety and the feeling of anxiety, I think, was also a huge catalyst, which allowed me to understand that I didn't want to drink anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from a catalyst standpoint, like those are really huge. Those are things that shake up, and then you know that you're not in alignment with the way that things were before, and things can never be the same. So I think from a life-changing standpoint, I think those are two huge points. As far as like when you're now ready to acknowledge that some of the shadows, I guess, maybe, and acknowledging that you're not perfect, and that person that's been masking is not, the end all, and the picket fence that you thought you had wasn't the end goal that you had. And then there would be maybe instances that when you're ready for change that really stood out to you. And I guess one of those would be watching Monique go through yoga teacher training. And I really got to be immersed with that because I would go to all the classes, the physical aspect of it. But then Monique would also come home and she would be doing the other 7 limbs of yoga, because asana is only one of the 8 limbs of yoga. And that's a very small portion of it. And in fact, that portion of yoga was really so you can enjoy the pinnacle or all the other levels of yoga, which is just to find a little bit of stillness. And I think it's that stillness and that way of living, the yogic philosophy, the yogic way of living. I really gravitated towards the Hindu philosophy, the mysticism of that, and just the hopefulness and just the positive. I think that was a huge changing point. And then one more I'll give you, and then I'll stop, and then we can ask questions.
You're all
or I would
good.
love to hear what you would have to say. My Reiki master has many modalities. One of his modalities is called matrix energetics. And I went down there for, I think, a massage once, because that's what it was called. But then he uses other things that got into it. And I'm like, that's all that was in my awareness. Energy healing wasn't necessarily in my awareness. I think I just recently got introduced to Reiki, but I had a profound experience where I was physically moving. And in the beginning of the session, he had his hands on my shoulders, but I felt like he was moving me around. But I came to the realization that I was moving myself. And maybe one would perceive that he was directing that movement, but like, okay, yeah, but it's co-creation at best, because like I could have stopped the movement as well, right? Because it wasn't a forced movement. So I lost my shit. I was, in a good way, I was crying and laughing through the session, and I could not get into my car and drive away. And it's making me emotional now. Just for a second, I'll get over it in a second. But
take your time.
I couldn't drive, dude. Like I couldn't drive, and at that point, I knew anything was possible, bro. I literally knew at that point that any fucking thing is possible in this planet, whether it was for myself, whether it's for other people. Like and that's what I said. I recorded myself in the parking lot that day, because I was tripping out. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was literally saying that over and over again. I said, anything's possible. I went immediately after that and I got Reiki certified. And then everything started to snowball. And what I mean by snowball is there was a need for more, and I hate that word, there was a desire for more understanding, that I was a more complex individual than I ever gave myself credit for. I discounted myself and I shut myself off from so many things in my life, and that, and no fault of my own, that's just society. That was the way that I modeled the behaviors, the way that I thought those behaviors should be modeled, and how I internalized it. So Oh, just so many gifts, bro. Like, I'm so excited to understand that, like, and I'm only scratching the surface. So, like, um, I do different things like Reiki, we do sound healing, and like, I've found so much, um, opportunity in like I never meditated before. Now I meditate. Like I told you, I woke up in the middle of the night. Normally, I would be watching. So 10 years ago, I would have popped on like Peaky Blinders. Good show. No offense, anybody who loves it, is fucking bitch and show. But like, I can't do that anymore. That's not my version of myself. Like, I can't do violence anymore.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, I don't want to. It doesn't match with me anymore. I'm a total like Godfather dude. Like I listened to rap music like my entire childhood, like all these things, and there's still messages that I can listen to, but like I have to be very careful with like what rap I listen to, because often that's associated with negative vibrations. Like telling the story, I don't want to be. I want to tell a different story. No disrespect to rap music at all. I love it. I still listen to it, but like attracts like, and if we're describing who we were and what the stories were, aren't we inviting that stuff back in? If the law is the law, aren't we inviting that big in? If like attracts like, and we're visually taking in violence, if we're audibly hearing, and just womanizing comes to mind just because like I'm the patriarchy and like is a big deal, and the leaders, who the leaders used to be were very much women, and they were the healers, and that, I don't know, I'm going down a lot of rabbit holes here.
No, you're all good. Seriously, you're all good.
Yeah, it's
I love it.
I don't know, it's very hopeful, and getting back in touch with nature, getting back in touch with going to the feminine side, getting in touch with our feminine side. We are half masculine, we are half feminine. Do not let anything, the sexual organs are just a very small piece of who we are. Other than that, we're the same thing, and we embody these characteristics of both femininity and masculinity, and we have healthy masculine and we have healthy feminine, but we also have that on the masculine side as well. So we have to understand that there's four parts of us, if you will. And
so the second part to this question is, how do you feel like your transformative moment in that, and because it seems like you've had a couple or a few, how do you feel like it's shaped who you are today?
To answer it just really quickly, I think it's understanding that new version of yourself and never being able to go backwards. Like, you can't erase that understanding, and it's each of these understandings that propel us forward and provide like discourse, or like it doesn't, the vibration, it's not there anymore. Like, you can't do that anymore. You can't have that thought process. You can't have that way of thinking. You can't say the things that you used to say. Relationships, man. We talked about it last night. Like, I remember hearing Maya and Monique's dear friend. She said nothing lasts forever. And I was so offended because like we were almost talking about relationships a little bit. I'm like, hell no, lady. I was like, this is amazing. Like, you're a friend, that I haven't had before. And this feels so good. Sure as shit, she is 100% right. Like, I haven't talked to that woman in years, but you know what? But here's the thing though, Damien, like, that's not even like, and it sounds like, right? But like, it served her and it served me to be in the relationship when it was, and it also served us both to not be in the relationship. And like the understanding that actually, talk about a life-changing moment. Like, that relationship was also a huge change for me, and just seeing somebody, it's cool, man. I love it. It's all these things, and not being able to turn away, not being able to unsee. That's the thing. It goes back to Star Wars, bro. You a Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
I mean,
not great, not like a diehard Star Wars fan, but I'm a fan of it for sure.
and I'm old school, not to get political, but before Disney got a hold of it, like a lot of these things and like the old Star Wars, like you could trace back to like the Bhagavad Gita and like Jedi. Like you can look up the word the Jedi and like see where these words come from. Like these are ancient like Egyptian terms.
Interesting.
That's King Khufu's son, Prince de Jedi. Like these things, they're a lot of the things that are in awareness and that are thrown in front of our faces are studied historical things that talk about like harnessing the energy of the universe. Like, look, remember Empire Strikes Back? You remember how pissed off Luke was that he couldn't raise the Millennium Falcon? Like he's like, dude, I can't do it. And what did Yoda tell him? Yoda told him, dude, you have to unlearn what you've learned. There are constraints around life, around our perception of what we're capable of doing. And Luke just needed to step into his own to understand that he is as powerful as anybody who walked on this planet. And we emulate some of these people and we put them on pedestals, whether they're institutions, whether they're religion, and we emulate these people. And all that does, not taking away from anybody's belief, but we're taking power away from ourselves. You look at some of the most powerful people, and I'm not a religious person, but I have a fantastic relationship with Jesus, not as a Christian, but as a person who physically walked this planet, who had magnificent gifts. And some of these gifts we've discussed today, like some of these people that are in our awareness, that are in our circle, that are on this planet, that walk this planet, they're powerful. Not to discount anything from these past powerful people, but these people were trying to teach us messages.
Right.
Like if we look in between the lines, they were giving us the power. They did not want the power. They did not want to be revered. They did not want to be put on pedestals. They were empowering ourselves with the knowledge. They were not egos.
Yeah.
Egos want to be emulated. Egos want to be revered. Egos want to control.
Yep.
People, love wants to give, love wants to radiate, love wants to reciprocate. It's good.
I love that.
That's the light and dark of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
The Death Star was always going to blow up, dude. The Death Star had no chance. It had no chance of ever succeeding. It was great. It was vast. It was technology. It was well thought out. They harnessed everything they could. They tried to get the light to come over to the dark to make it successful, but it was never gonna win.
So I love the fact that because you touched on a big point of mine, which is understanding yourself, that you are just as powerful as anyone else, and you have to own that. I feel like a lot of people nowadays, especially, there's so much comparing going on, so much of it. And there's something I saw a few months ago. I think it was some time ago. And it says that comparing is a thief of all joy. And I was like, what the fuck?
Right.
And I'm like, damn, like, because there's this old saying as well, that you can't compare yourself to someone else's chapter because they're probably in their 20th chapter. You just can't. It won't work.
I love that.
We all have our own chapters of where we're starting or where we're ending those, and we have our different books that we're starting. And the books could be part of you or part of different aspects of your life, and those different aspects of your life can be different chapters of your life, just like mine. I came from Dallas, right? I came from Beaumont, Texas, where I was born, went to Dallas, lived there majority of my life, then moved out here to California. That's a new book. Not even a new chapter, but a new fucking book.
Totally.
Because now, like what, I'll go ahead and answer this as well for myself. For the most transformative moment of my life, I've got a few. There's one. I've said this in some past episodes, because when Adrian and I started this podcast, so you're aware, Jason, we started this and we felt the need to let the audience know a little bit about ourselves, about like just to voluntarily be vulnerable. So we did that. And so a lot of people may already understand what I'm about to say, but for you, because you don't know,
Right.
it's new information. So for me, one of those moments for myself was when I was homeless in high school. And my mom and I got into it, and just one of the many times that we've gotten into it. And, she kicked me out, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, not all right, cool. It was super painful to go through for sure. Cause I'm still like, at this point, I think I was a senior in high school, and I was living with a buddy of mine and his family. And I was working 2 jobs and going to school. So like legit, and playing ice hockey all in the same time.
Dude.
So whenever I graduated, because I ended up having to go to an alternative school, and I ended up finishing high school. The entire year of high school, or for a senior, I finished in 2 weeks. No joke. And I was like, bye. So as soon as that happened, I was just doing my own thing. I was playing ice hockey. I was working. Like, that's all I was doing. Well, that was one part of it. Another part was the fact that when I got my diploma, I didn't go to anything, any school functions. I didn't even walk a stage.
That's funny. We're the same, brother.
I didn't like anyone at the high school. I was like, goodbye. I don't like it.
Dude,
that's heavy. And then I went down to go live with my biological father for 6 months, because I had this mindset that I need to go down back to my roots, where I'm from. I need a reset. And so that's what I did. And so that was one part of it. So whenever I came back to Dallas, I was like, okay. So I went back to live with my mom again, and that lasted only like 2 weeks or so, until we got into it again, and it was like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I moved to Dallas. Another transformative moment was the fact of when I lost everything. When I lost everything was 2016, February of 2016. My business partner at the time stole everything, and literally everything. We had 6 businesses running, and lost everything.
Yeah.
That's my young and dumb moment, because I didn't know. You can't do what you don't know, and you can't know what you don't know. So when I lost everything, thankfully I'm really good with money. So I was able to, not be insanely homeless. I was able to move into an apartment and all that stuff. And that transformative moment for me was the fact that I now know how to structure myself properly. And I now know what I'm looking at characteristics, personality wise. I know what I'm looking for now. If I do partner up with somebody, then post that was when I finally broke the chains of Dallas, being in Dallas, and I uprooted myself, moved me and Diesel. We moved here to California to start our new book. And that was insane, amazing, because that was something that I did. It was for me. My love, she was like, if you come out to California, do it for you, do it for anything else but me. Do not do it because of me. She's like, because I don't want
She's so cool, bro. Like, what a partner, bro. What a gift that somebody understands that you need to be full to allow that relationship to be successful. What insight.
I know. And
she's a blessing, bro.
Oh, I know. And so when I moved here, I was the one that, like, October 19th, 2017 was whenever I moved out here. And so we just passed the anniversary of that. And so since then, for me, I learned even more than what I ever thought I'd be able to learn ever. Just because the people I was surrounded with, my old mentor, which is Peter Pocklington. He's the one that used to, like way back in the 70s, own the Edmonton Oilers, which owned Wayne Gretzky. He was like the one that got Stanley Cups and everything like that. So he was my mentor for some years. And so it was cool. But then even from there was another transformation, because I'm like, okay, I no longer want to be doing this career. I'm going into this career. And so now it's like I understand how all these things work, and I'm able to really speed up my learning curve. And the second part of it would be that how has it shaped my character? How has it shaped my existence? And how it's really been able to do that is I've been able to understand I need to do more observing than I do speaking. My trusting, I go through therapy, and it's been great. My love was the one that inspired me to do the therapy in the first place. I've learned a lot about myself. In comedy, that's like one of my things, one of my skits about self-esteem, because I had this whole thing. I never knew what self-esteem was. And I found that out through therapy. And literally, I had no idea. And turns out from what some say, that I have a very high self-esteem.
Yeah.
For all of those of you out there that say that, thank you. I really thank you for that, because I actually don't. I have a very low self-esteem, and it's been something that I've been working on for a literal year now. It's been my 1 year anniversary comes up next month in November.
That's so cool.
With doing therapy. And there's been so many things that's been chaotic in my headspace. There's been a lot of stuff that I've had to learn about myself. But I wanted to do it because I felt that there was a lot of shit down below that nobody knows about, that that was not allowing for me to be the best version of myself for my love. Because everything is about, for me, mostly everything is about, me wanting to provide the best that I possibly can for my household, for my love. I support her in everything she does. I don't give a fuck what it is. You do it, and I'm gonna support you. You got my full 100% unconditional support. And so for me, though, about my shaping my character has been to understand that, number one, just like you found out, anything is possible. You're only limited by your mindset. Yes. Everything else you can fucking do. It doesn't matter. Think about it. Dream about it. You spoke about it last night, actually, which I wanted to chime in, but once again, I could not bring this person out of the box because there's other people that we found out last night. It would not have been the time or place for me to bring myself out of the box. It's not the time or place for it. But what I'm alluding to here is that the moon, the nighttime, how all that shit is, right? For me, you can contribute it to the moon, which I'm a believer of. I also contribute it to smoking weed. I smoke sativa. That's me. That's what gets me into my creative feels. And I try to go to sleep at night, try. And most of the time, as long as my love is around, I can go to sleep. No problem. If she's not around, I become feral, which I had this fucking joke about it too, that I thought feral was something about being sterile. And I literally told my love, why are you asking me if I'm sterile? She was like, do you know what feral is? And I'm like, apparently not. And she's like, it means that you are an animal whenever, you're just this unroutine animal, this beast whenever I leave. And I'm like, then yes, I'm feral. So, whenever she leaves though, I end up staying up till sometimes between 3 to 5 a.m. and I'll go back to sleep, or not back to sleep, but I'll go to sleep and then I'll wake up again, probably between 7 and 9 a.m. And then get the day going and literally be a continuous thing. But that's been allowing for me to come up with, put it like this, every business that I've ever created, any crazy idea that's ever been done has been while I've been high. And I attribute that to, you know, a lot of like basically most of my creativity, because the podcast, I was high. My demolition company, I was high. The fact that I was seeing that I was spending way too much expenses on rental equipment for my demolition company, so I needed to create a car dealership out of it. I was fucking baked out of my mind. I'm like, wait a second, maybe this could work. And then I
Creative side of
fucking
you.
find out that it's worked. So at the end of the day, you know, it's allowed for me to want to become the best that I can possibly be, but also I know that things are going to take work, and I know this. And am I afraid or shying away from the work? Fuck no. Like, let's go, bring it on. Like, I will do it. I will humble myself as much as I need to. I typically like to come into a lot of things with a great amount of humility. I don't like to be seen as the loudest person in the room or the smartest person in the room. In fact, I like to do the opposite, and especially new people. I do not like to bring this version out. I don't, because unless I'm speaking in front of a crowd or something, then cool, I'll bring it once I hit the stage. But it's never going to be something that, you know, I'm going to be a much more reserved version of who's on camera right now. Because, you know, people, it's like reading the room, understanding, you know.
You hit on it earlier, right?
Which part?
You hit on it earlier. Like, you want to be aware of like what you're doing, what your output is.
Yeah, and
like,
that's the
because
thing,
of the vibration, right? Because you said that person's not even going to be able to hear you.
Yeah, and that's
if you
the
come
thing.
in too hot, right?
Last night is literally the perfect example, and for everyone that's trying to understand, like, what the hell does he mean by last night? We went to a sound bath that Jason and his sweetheart Monique had hosted, and it's here in Wildomar, California, and it's at Sage Sanctuary. So for all those of you that are interested, go ahead, and I'll put Jason's Instagram handle up so y'all can go ahead and reach out to him through Instagram. But it's one of these things that, you know, you go experience it. Like, everyone I've ever met, it was just like, I did not know the fuck that was going to happen. And so being able to understand that you go to these things, yes, like, you know, there's, like I said before, people are going through shit. The last thing that they need is to have a wrecking ball like me coming through and like taking up all the airtime. No, I don't. I know what I'm capable of. I don't want to bring any of that into that safe space, if you will, because it could be very well, like, it could be like very discouraging. It could be. I don't know. You never know what I'm gonna say.
I love it, man. But you're conscious of like your words, and there's a term called asteya in yoga, and it kind of comes down to stealing. But like, stealing is in many forms, and you're talking about like energetic and time and stuff. So you're being very conscious of not to steal people's time, and you're coming from thoughtfulness. And what you wanted to say is what you said at the end, and that's what you felt would resonate not only with yourself but with other people. So like, good on you, brother. Like, that's so cool. That's such an important part about humans. We don't often understand that. And we could just be spitting a bunch of useless stuff out. We got our piano fixed the other day.
Mm-hmm.
This gentleman was in here for like at least a couple hours, just like, as Monique would explain it, mansplaining, and just giving just unsolicited advice after unsolicited advice. And that's not the problem. The problem is he was not picking up. Like, if you even paid the smallest amount of attention, you would know that there's zero energetic connection. Like, if you're at all paying attention to the other person, and like, we often don't do that. We need to pay attention to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's important, right?
Oh yeah, it's just being aware and reading the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had that interaction with so many people, and I'm just trying to get shit done. They talk my head off, and I'm like, and I'm not even in like this. Talk my head off, and whenever I'm in a business setting, do not talk my head off. Like, I got shit to do.
You're on
And
timeline.
huh?
You're on a timeline.
I got appointments to be at. I got phone calls to make. And, you know, there's this one specific dude. I won't name his name for the most part because I forgot his name. But he's a home inspector. And dude, this fucking home inspection went for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it should have only taken, for this house, it should have taken about an hour. And I was just there. Thankfully, I brought my computer with me. Talked about Broadway shows. This dude talked to me about fucking everything. And I'm like,
it's insane, bro. So like, that's the thing that we want to bestow onto people is their own awareness.
Yeah.
Like, bro, like pay attention. Sorry again.
I would love for that to be the case, but you know, it's like, you know, it is like in my head, it's kind of, it is what it is. People that are interested in learning will learn. People that aren't interested in learning won't learn. And you know, it's kind of how that side of things goes. Here's one thing I would love to ask you. This is going to go over mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you'll like it. Do you have, or would you mind sharing a personal experience of overcoming a mental health challenge and what lessons were actually learned?
Yeah, let's do that. So let's continue with what you were saying there too, and like the well, I guess not. So mental health. Let's see.
Yeah, a personal experience of overcoming a mental health challenge and what lessons were learned out of that.
I mean, I don't think there is over. Yeah, that's a good one, bro. I have to think about that for a second. That's a good one. Challenge. I'm trying to think of a key word that I can like help. Mental health challenge. Oh my gosh, I'm not coming up with a word to tie me into something. How about acknowledgement? Like, would that be something that you're talking about too? Because I think trauma. So how about that? I think acknowledging trauma, that I have trauma. There's my answer. And I wrote that down and I was trying to bring something back to that, but trauma, acknowledging that we have trauma, we all have trauma, and being able to acknowledge that and acknowledge that it comes in different forms and fashions, and identifying it and connecting the dots, like I was saying earlier. Yeah. So yeah, I think identifying that we all have trauma and actually doing something about it. Like you talked about, and if I can scroll backwards, I think it'll tie
go for it
a little bit. And I'll tie it into myself as well too. But like we talked about, I'm looking at my notes, low self-esteem. We talked about comparing. And I'm gonna bring it back to sports. And this is the contrast that like you might not be aligned with, but like this is real stuff. So like low self-esteem, comparing, sports, business, these are all like, that feels like stairs, and like trying to get up the stairs at any cost possible. And I'm going back to like tryouts in school, like at a young age, right? Like tryouts. And I don't remember if I said this last night or not, but there's always a loser, dude. Like there has to be a loser. And not only is there going to be one loser, there's going to be dozens and dozens and dozens of losers. But the institutions, I feel, don't do a good job of managing that, because all we do is, instead of acknowledging some of that shortcomings, all we do is compound, comparing, emulating success, winning, beating somebody else. And like what comes along with that a lot of the time is like what we see out there in society, which starts from a very young age. And you can look at it, you know, to a football game. And like the last football game I was at, like there is a I mean, there is moms and children in fights.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's the last one I'm going to. Like, I'm not doing that again. But like Little League, like, look at these parents, what they're instilling in their children at such a young age. Like, they're willing to fight about something their kids have no idea about. Like, Johnny had no idea what was going on in the field, but yet his parents is like, his dad's losing his absolute mind. And then all of a sudden there's like 12 people on there. So now what we're doing is we're showing our kids, like, that's what sports are. That's what competitiveness is. So like, I don't think people have a clear understanding on like what competition is. If you look up the root of football, like if you look up the history of football, football started about two towns not agreeing with each other and them being able to reconcile their differences through a game, through beating the F out of each other. That's the way that football was created, dude.
Wow. Like, I don't fun fact of the day.
Like, that's insane, man. But these are the things. Like, I remember being super competitive, man. Like, I wanted to win. And now I'm just thinking about a damn board game, dude. Like, I'm thinking about a board game right now. Like, I'm not even thinking about like being out and winning that I played basketball all the time. I wasn't in organized sports, but I played a shit ton of basketball. I watched football all the time. But like, what are we doing? What are we instilling in our culture, in our society? Like, win at all costs? Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
like, that's the contrast. Like, sports are great. Like, I had a ton of fun watching our middle daughter play, or actually all of our daughters, playing soccer, and the communication that they got from that, the confidence that they got from that, some of the things that you were talking about, like the competitiveness but it was to themselves. It was like doing better than yourself, like running a little bit harder to take care of your team. Like, that's what I love about soccer. It's communicative. It's same with ice hockey, dude. It's one of the most communicative sports. Like, you're using each other, it's geometry. Like, you're using your math skills, like you're creating lines. Like, some of these things are cool. So like, let's pick out the things that are important about sports. Like, wow, man, that was really creative. Like, I can't believe that you came up with that. Like, the way that you created that line, it was so beautiful, how technical you were, or like how you communicated with me non-verbally, or how you verbally communicated with me. And you know what, bro, we lost, but man, we were really fluid today. And you know what, we lost and that other team won. And that other team, they were so beautiful. They did such a nice job. They were so calculated. They did something that we didn't do. How can we do that next time? But not because fuck those guys, they won, or not fuck us because we sucked. Those are the things that society picks up on, those latter two things a lot.
You know, it's funny, you said earlier about like kids and competing and all that stuff. So this coaching deal that I did, one of the parents pulled me aside when we were doing like the cool down. And he's like, hey, man, can I talk with you for a second? I was like, sure. What's going on? So I didn't know what the hell he was going to say. I was like, all right, let's go for it. I was thinking he was going to bitch me out for something, but whatever. And so he's like, Damien, right? And I was like, yeah. He says, I want to thank you. And I was like, for what? He says, I don't know if you noticed me, probably not, because you've been engaged with the kids, but I just wanted to tell you, thank you for teaching these kids competition. And I was like, well, I mean, that's what I know. Like, I only know win or lose. And he was like, yeah, but that's the thing, Damien. He's like, it's unfortunate. And I mean this when I say this to you, it's really unfortunate because, you know, now in today's world, they just give out participation awards. And it's not a win or lose. It's you're getting an award for even participating. And he's like, you know, back in our day, you know, back in the 90s, you won or you lost. And if you lost, you got nothing. And except the reflection for doing better. And he says, but, you know, I really appreciate you teaching my kid what it means to lose and also what it means to win, but also more importantly, having good sportsmanship. And I was like, look, I've been on the other side of it, to where you have shitty sportsmanship going down. I've been part of like big brawls. It's never fun. That's whenever it gets really toxic. And, you know, I'm just glad that you enjoy the fact that I'm bringing some of the 90s into this training with what I'm doing with the kids. And he's like, no, seriously, I absolutely love it. Like, I just love seeing it. Like, he's like, the last coaches before, they didn't do anything in comparison to what you've done. And I'm like, cool, man. Like, I do appreciate that. So I think it's really cool. Going off of that, it is really cool to be able to do something like that. Because for me, man, you know, I like, there's this little girl that it was 2 days ago now. Yeah, 2 days ago. She was crying. This girl is an athlete, like straight up. She's from the Philippines. She just got here this past year. Super amazing little girl. And at first she was like, Coach Damien. And I was like, hey, what's going on? Once we get into our first activity, she's like this and just like real pouty. And I was like, what's going on? And she didn't want to say anything. So I got her to get in an activity, and she started going. And then she went off to the side and started crying. I was like, what's going on? Like, I sat with her, what's going on? And she's like, no one cheers for me. And I was like, but you carry the team, just like I told you. I said, I told you that you are you're one of the kids that has the most skills in this sport. So you're going to be golden. She's like, but nobody cheered for me. My team didn't cheer for me. And I told her, I was like, I'm glad you're going through this right now. And she said, she looked at me really puzzled, as you can imagine, a kid. And I was like, I'm glad you're going through this, because you're learning a little quicker than most should learn. But the fact is, you need to do good for you, not because you're going to get credit and applause from other people, but you need to do good because you want to do good. I was like, I go through this all the time. I do such a great job with things, and I never get credit. I never get applause. I never get cheers. And I need you to understand this. This is going to happen. This will not be the first time. This is the entry. This is for you to have a taste as to what is going to keep happening throughout your life. And I'm glad you're learning it today here on the court.
Love it, bro. Love that, Damien.
Yeah, man. And so she looked at me and she's like, thank you, Coach Damien. And I was like, does everything make sense as to what I said? And she says, it does. And so she goes out and dude, she was on a rampage, man. Oh my God. I was so shocked in a pleasant manner, because, you know, she obviously took what I said and she put it to use. And she literally went to a point that was like, I don't care about y'all's opinions anymore, because Coach Damien just instilled to me self-love. And so it was a big deal. And yeah, man, it was just like, it's super cool to be able to be that, be that good role model for the kids. Because I'm not the type, like, I can be as fun as I can be. I can also be really strict, and every kid gets scared whenever that happens, because if you go from fun to strict, you're like, what the fuck is going on? And so
trust and safety is eroded at that point, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah. And that's the thing. But that's what I enjoy doing with them, is just being able to do that. I'm no longer, I'll be ending here soon on that one, but it's just, dude, it's just one of those things, man, that like, even for my own mental health, like you pointed it out for everybody, for myself, is just the fact that, you know, the self-esteem, loving myself, comparing myself, you hit the nail on the head. All of it for me has definitely come from sports relations. and business. And it's like, I'm all about, athletes doing their shit. Like, go into it, do what you're gonna do, but also understand that you definitely need, and I'm going to talk on this one, but you definitely need to stand back, smell the fucking roses, and understand, see your accolades, see your accomplishments, and love that. Love the sides of error.
Yes.
Love it whenever you lost. Love it when you won, because they're all going to be stepping stones. It's always going to be to a point that there's different starting points to everything, right? And
100%.
you have to be able to love and appreciate the good, the bad, and the fucking ugly all day long.
Yeah. And own it. It's real. It's a part of our life. So like, if we discount or don't acknowledge that, like, that's where kind of trauma breeds. It's those things in the past, like, that we didn't acknowledge, that we pretend didn't happen. And like, that's a thing. So by you giving that girl that gift, that's so huge. And that realization, like, it really does start with us, and our self-esteem shouldn't revolve around other people. But you know what? Unfortunately, it does to a certain extent too.
Right.
And that's like the job about inclusivity too. And like the clubs and the separation and the institutions, like, all those do is breed, you know, the lack of connectiveness. So the more we can bring that into sports, because people are going to do the sports, and the more that we can help people learn from that standpoint, like, we can make sports a lot different than sports have traditionally been. Like, sports can be like a very good feeling to like all sides, because often, like we said, like, you're going to have a loser, like half of the stadium is going to be pissed off. Well, like, well, we don't have to look at that as people are losers. It's the same thing in like the way our countries run. Like, why does there have to be winners and losers? Why does one person have to be right and one person be wrong? That goes back to the commonality. Like, it's all about commonality. We are so much more the same than we are different. And like, even from that standpoint, like, why the heck does anybody have to feel that way, like that poor girl does, just because what, she came from somewhere else, because she might speak a different language, she has a different accent, she looks a little bit different, she wears different clothes. Of course she's different, she's assimilating to a new culture. So like, can't we just find the beauty in all that? Like, my God, what if everybody is fucking Damien and Jason? This would be so boring. We'd just be talking about the same shit all day. Like, we need that girl. Like, we need our wives. We need the person that we're getting into arguments with, that we're not in alignment with, so that can drive alignment. It's so we can enjoy this experience. Like, that's the ultimate goal. Like, what are we doing if we can't enjoy this experience?
Oh, yeah.
And our experience is not only to enjoy it ourselves, which is the fundamental most important thing, and you've touched on it many times. Like, we have to be complete ourselves to be able to give that love to other people. Like, that young girl needed that love. She needs to be explained. Like, she needs to be given a roadmap. Like, you and I weren't given that roadmap.
No,
that's why we both have low self-esteem, and that's part of the reason, like, why we smash. Like, why I work a 9 to 5, why we're doing our business. Like, that's why I'm working extra hard. I remember working 2 jobs. I didn't want to work 2 jobs. I always said I never wanted to do that again. But like, I don't ever want to stop working. And I don't want to stop working on self-development. Like, that's what it is. That's going to make my personal relationships, my professional relationships, the strangers, like, that's one that I really want to embrace. And you hit on it earlier, and I don't remember the actual context that you put it in, but let's meet people where they are. Like, that's a challenge. Like, we don't know what, even in a day, like, since that person woke up and we're in front of them at the grocery store and they're saying whatever they're saying, we have no idea what the hell is going on in that person's life. We don't know what's going on with their family. We don't know if they're late from work. We don't know if they just got fired. But just trying to meet people where they are, and it's hard. It's a super challenge. It's one of my biggest challenges for sure in life, is not only meeting people, but meeting myself and controlling my emotions, which is my energy.
Right. See, that's the part that I actually, it's a strong suit of mine actually, because what I do, take this for your own nuggets.
Thank you.
I, um, for me, I don't pay attention to what could be going on in the background of somebody's life. I don't. And the reason is that it doesn't matter. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because what I'm going to exude energetically and vibrantly is going to be contagious. Positivity outweighs negativity most of the time. And the proof is in the pudding on the point that let's take you and I. Jason, you're having a shit day. Just a shit fucking day. And you meet me randomly. We start talking. I'm myself, the way that you see me today.
Yeah.
And we start talking, 1 hour turns into 2, turns into going like, hey, do you want to like go to the batting cages or something? And then that sprouts up into something else. Then the day's over. The time is over. You leave yourself, you leave the situation.
Yeah.
You have a high. You have an actual fucking high that is been created because of the positivity that you experienced in the moment with someone who is operating at a higher vibrational standpoint than you were. I'm at an 8. I stayed at an 8. I didn't come down, didn't go up. I was very consistent. You, for some reason, were at a 3 or 4, but by the time you were done, you came up to a 6. That's a fucking big ass deal. Leaving that thing with a high is when now you go into your nighttime and you're like, just thinking about all these things. Like, oh my God, like you get inspired. And that's why for me, this has been proven time and time and time again that people are left with this weird fucking high from me because it's just they've never met someone like myself who's just unapologetically myself.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And so for people that are going through some shit in their life, and if I don't come to it of like, oh, are you okay? Let's just not try to think about it. I'm like, just think it, just say it, and whatever the fuck comes out. And it's like now, like I said, this is like something I said in the beginning of the episode today, which was showing others that it's okay to come out of the shell and be yourself, which leads me to my quote that I've lived by since I was like 12 years old. No bullshit. It's better to be hated for who you are than to be loved for who you're not.
Yeah. I like those. Right? That's your true nature. That's your true nature, right?
Dude, that has been the staple of my life since literally I was 12 years old. I found that quote, even through the concussions that I've had. For some reason, I've always been able to come back to that belief. But also, it hasn't been by like a smooth nature either. It's been to where maybe I should be like a lesser version of like what I'm coming in. But usually, depending on the setting, I can be myself. I could be a little bit more reserved version of myself, or in comedy, I can just fucking go out and be as animated as I want to be. And it's going to be loved upon. And so that's some of the stuff that, I like, even through the podcast. I love being able to have people view it, to listen to it. And, it's been able to help more people than anything else. And that's why I've been so excited to have you on as a guest, because you are in that spiritual kind of indulgence, enlightenment guide, that you teach people the new ways that they may not know, for the most part, don't know. And they think it's kind of like blah, blah, blah. But then you create that safe space.
I love it. And I just want to say on that note too, that I'm a student. Like I am equally learning along the way too. I love to be able to share anything that I have and anything that I'm studying or doing, and that it resonates with somebody. But equally, I am learning. Like I'm learning from you. Like I learned from you yesterday, even though you were at one of our events. Like, and it's so true though, man, because like, yeah, I'm just super grateful. I'm just super grateful, and I just wanted to say that at least to something that you said.
So we can, because I know you got your day ahead of you. Because for everyone, y'all know I don't do mornings. I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning podcaster at all. And the fact that this is how much I wanted Jason to be on the episode.
Thank you,
I woke
bro.
up for all of you. And I even told Jason last night. He was like, earlier the better. I'm like 8 a.m. And
I was like, holy shit, you mean business, man. I love that, Damien, dude. I love it.
Like that's just how it goes, man. I want to, I've really been excited to have you on here. Sincerely, it's our sincerest pleasure. I know that Adrian wanted to be here, but he's with his wife right now, so that's definitely understandable. So I just had to take the lead on it. So Jason, is there any ending message that you would like to say to the audience that's listening at all?
So just real quick too, I look forward to meeting Adrian at some point, and I thank you too. Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as parting messages, please check us out at Kind People Wellness. You could check out our website or us on Instagram. It's at Kind People Wellness. And that'll just tell you a little bit about what we have going on. A lot of what we do revolves around Reiki and sound and harnessing what we have here on this planet and this energy that we discuss. So make ripples, friends. Just make positive ripples. We all have it inside of us, and we can affect some of the things that we're not in alignment with in this world. This planet is on the cusp of change, and it's moving into the light. Despite what some of us might see and what current events might say, we will combat that. And it's each and every one of us. And brother, going back to you, thank you for being in service, because that's what you touched on about 10 minutes ago. So be in service to ourselves first, to be whole, and then be in service to each other, because this is one race. We're the human race. We're not a bunch of different races. We're all the same. That's it.
All right. Well, yeah, you guys heard it here first. Jason, thanks so much for being on today, bro. We do really appreciate it, and I'm sure the audience really appreciates a new outlook on everything that we spoke about today, because this is something that we haven't really gone down, especially with a specialist in this side. So even though you're a student, you are a specialist.
You're too much, brother. I appreciate you. You're too much. I appreciate you. Thank you. It's been an honor, man. This far exceeded my expectations. Thank you.
You're very, very, very welcome, Jason. Well, with that, you guys, I'm going to end the podcast. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, whether it's day, night, middle of the morning, whatever the case may be. Please, once again, remember just to be yourself, okay? Be yourself. It will be appreciated by everyone. Don't be afraid of the judgments around you. Yeah. And like Jason said, be kind to everyone. So with that, peace.
See you, brother.